Hi, this is Numeric Citizen here. In today's video, one more thing. Let's try to imagine the Craft 2025 roadmap. Let's do this. First, let's start with a disclaimer. I don't have any insider knowledge about the future development plans of Craft. I'm doing this only based on my experience with the software and also by looking at the last 2 years development journey. So this is basically wild guesses, but also something more related to some of my deep wishes for the Craft future. In the last few weeks, I've been working on a secret project, and it all started when I was thinking about how cool it would be for Craft to have a real web clipper. For those who don't know, a web clipper is an extension where from a browser you can import a full web page inside an app like Craft or any other application. And so when I started to think about what would be the best web clipper, I could not think about that without having a kind of an overall view of the current state of Craft and maybe take a step back and think more deeply about the Craft future. So this is how the project started. So I decided to create a website. I'll share the link in the description below. I decided to create a website where I could share what I think should be the roadmap for 2025. And also I'll spend some time looking more deeper into two specific areas where I'll share my thoughts and how things could go in two specific areas. So let's do this. I have created this document where the first part is the actual roadmap for 2025, and then there is 2 pages. One is about the web clipper and the other one is about the new Craft home view, and I'll go into details for each of those. So let's start first by looking at the mind map that I have created for the 2025 roadmap, and I'll explain how this roadmap should unfold next year. Let's look at this roadmap. The first thing you'll notice is that the roadmap is divided in 4 quarters. So I think that a well-balanced release schedule is mandatory. And the first thing to note is on the left here is the introduction of the official Craft feature request board. I've been talking about that for a long time now, and I think that the best way to manage all those user requests and feedbacks about Craft should be made public, like many other companies are doing. And I think that this should be the first official step that the Craft team should take starting early 2025. So once it's done, let's start with Q1. As you know, 2024 was a very busy year for Craft, and a lot of new things made it to the app on all platforms. And I think that the first few weeks and months should be spent on kind of fixing bugs and making the app experience more finished in a lot of areas. And one of the things that I would like to see coming is that all the platforms should kind of look more or less the same. Take for example, if you look at the web version of Craft, the insert menu is not using the same design as the desktop version or the iPad version. I do understand that the mobile experience is different because of the screen size, but if you compare the web version and the desktop version, I think there's room for improvements and to make those experiences more the same. Also, there's been a lot of beta tags across the app. For example, the whiteboard feature, which is currently seeing some improvement coming very soon, should have the beta removed. And also there's another beta tag like multi-block, multi-text block selection, which is still marked as beta. I think those leftovers should be addressed and fixed those sooner than later. And then the last portion of Q1 should be about tags and smart folders. The reason I'm putting those two together is that by introducing tags, and we already know right now that tags are coming very soon, early 2025, what I think should be included with the release of tags support is the addition of smart folders, which in fact means that as soon as you start tagging some of your documents, those documents should be, we should be able to access them in a smart list, in a smart folder, where you could build a, let's say a show me all the documents with a very specific tag. And so I think those two features should be bundled together. And it will also pave the way for what's coming next down the line. So looking at tags, I think that the first thing we have to expect is the addition of tags at the document properties level. I think that it's mandatory to have a serious implementation of tags is to include that, in a sense that you have a creation date, a modification date, the last visited date, or whatever fields that comes with every documents. The addition of tags at this level would complement and add a very useful way of using tags within Craft. The other thing is to add tags inline, which means that as you type text in a text box, for example, then you could invoke the tagging system, whereby typing the usual I don't know how to call that in English. That's the character with the number character followed by the text. Something like Apple Notes is doing, or Apple Reminders, or Bear, for example. Just by typing this character, then you can start invoking and typing tags inline within the text. And then like I said, using smart folder based on tags, those could be created automatically, by the way, just like Bear is doing. When you start adding tags to your documents, Bear will automatically create something like smart folders to be able to see all the documents that are using this specific tag. And also by introducing smart folders, then I think the next step is also to be able to create user-defined smart folders, where we could create a criteria to find all the documents that means like that were created in the last year using this tag and this tag and this tag, and then some other criterias. So that's for Q1. It's a pretty big quarter, but those features will definitely pave the way for what's coming in Q2. For the second quarter of 2025, the first thing that should be tackled is the project security, where we know that there is some work into the folder level permissions, where in addition to having some ability to set who can access a specific space inside a team, the next level would be to have a level folder level permissions, where someone who has access to a specific space should be denied access to some folders within that space, or should be allowed for only a specific set of folders inside of it. The other thing that needs to be addressed is the end-to-end encryption. As you know, Craft does not support full end-to-end encryption, at least at the 2024 definition of what end-to-end encryption means. So this is something that has been requested many times, because people sometimes will enter or create documents with very sensible information, and for them end-to-end encryption is kind of mandatory. Then the next thing would be the introduction of the WebClipper. It is in red right now because this is what we will look have a deeper look in the following in this video, later in this video. And the other thing that needs to be address in Q2 is the search in general. Search is not very, it's not perfect in Craft. There is some room for improvements, and one of the things that needs to be supported is when you are using on a Mac Spotlight, Apple Spotlight, to search documents. Right now, the last time I checked, when you do search, only the document titles are being indexed for search. And I think the next step is to have a full content indexation so that search really produce the best results possible. Also, there's some issues regarding searching in regards to collections and also tasks. And I think those needs to be addressed since the collections and the task has received a lot of improvements, or it's a brand new feature in Craft. So those needs to be addressed. And the last part of Q2 is to release Styles 2.0. As you remember, Styles were introduced late in 2024, and what we were missing is that some formatting attributes are not supported in styling in the styles sheets, where we are missing some styling option for headers, subtitle, title, and also for some other type of spacing inside a document. Also, the introduction of the white page support on the web is still not available, and it has been people have been asking for that for quite some time now, and for some reason you can create a white page document inside Crafts, but as soon as you share this document on the web, then it's only very narrow text. I do understand that a lot of people are maybe surfing the web with their iPad or their smartphone, but I think it's not a reason to not support white page on the web. And also the built-in icons set. When they introduce the Craft objects in the beta in 2024, and then later they settled for the collections instead, they introduce a new icon set that is not available outside the configuration of collections. And I'd like to see that supported on a wider spectrum inside Craft. And by the way, being able to support Apple symbols, which is a character set where there's more than 2,000 different symbols that are available, I think they should be also supporting that to do things like having a kind of a icon in the header of a document, so when you share this document, or when you create a deep link within Craft to this document, then the icon should be right there at the beginning of the deep link. Something that Notion is already doing, by the way. So I'll add support for the Apple symbol character set. So that's for Q2 2025. As we move ahead in 2025 in Q3, the Craft team should consider releasing what I would call Collections 2.0, where the focus should be on data mobility, where people could export data that they have entered in their collections, and also better support for CSV import, so that they can kickstart the creation of a collection just by importing CSV files. I think that those are kind of two mandatory things that should be added beyond the basic user experience improvements, like being able to better resize columns and very basic things like that. The other big subject for Q3 would be automation. As you know, Craft extension development has been stopped a long time ago, and I think that one of the best way to kickstart the next revolution of Craft expansion, ecosystem expansion, is to include better automation support. And one of the thing that should be done first is to have expanded support for Apple shortcuts, which they have been expanded somewhat with the release of tasks. For example, at the end of 2024, but I think there's room for much more expansion of actions that would be added to the shortcuts subsystem. And the other thing that needs to be done is the introduction of APIs, where I think it would help kickstart a development community around Craft. And the introduction of APIs is kind of the what could have been the Craft extension, but they did not release it. So by doing APIs, this would allow the creation of all sort of solutions around Craft, and it will really kickstart the creation of a big developer community. And so I think it's something that has to be done sometimes in 2025. The other thing is the introduction of actually, it's not the introduction, but the addition of smart bookmarks and integration, which started in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. And I think currently we have less than 10 integration, like Vimeo or something like that, or GitHub. But I do see a lot of potential for much more integration with other web services. One example of that is Readwise, is to be able to sync content from Craft to Readwise and back. That would be a really cool integration. The other thing is to support RSS. Craft has been doing a great job at supporting user in sharing public documents with the sharing capabilities, but there's one thing that is missing that would help create a few more use cases for Craft as a CMS, is to allow the creation of RSS feed. And I could maybe look into that later next year, but one of the way to support RSS feed is to have a document where the document itself is the root of the RSS feed. And as you add more pages inside this document, then those individual pages could become an article inside the RSS feed itself. So by doing that, you're kind of simulate or recreating what we call a CMS to have website like blogs, for example, and that would be really cool. And also, I think those feature in Q3 would really kickstart the next chapter in the Craft story. For Q4, I kind of mix up the last two portion here. What I'm calling the document publishing 2.0 feature is actually I kind of reversed the RSS here in the Q3 release, and this one for RSS feed support. What I was meaning here is that in the integration, it would be cool to be able to to subscribe to RSS feeds from within Craft, and each new article coming from a feed would become either a page inside a document, or simply import that a specific article inside a document in Craft. So that's for the Q3, but here it's actually supporting creation of a RSS feed based on a document. This is something that just explained earlier in the video. So I'm sorry for this mix up here. The other thing that I would like to see in the publishing is the support for forms, which means that people could go on your website on a Craft page actually that you shared, and they could just fill in some fields, which actually would be linked to a collections to a specific collection inside of Craft. So I think this would enable some other use cases for Craft as a content management service, and I think I can see that happening in 2025. And lastly, and this is one of the other subjects that will go deeper in this video, is the full redesign, reimagined Craft home. And so we'll look into that in more details next. Now, before talking about the Craft Home redesign, let's talk about the WebClipper. So in this document that you can access. Just look at the video description link there, down there. I have created a specific page for the WebClipper. If I click on that, then you will see the current state of the sharing extension within Craft on the Mac, for example. And as you can see, when we are kind of looking at a web page in Safari, for example, you can save this web page. Actually, you can save a bookmark to this web page in a document where you select first, and then you can decide to change into which space you want to save this this bookmark. And then what you see here is the preview of the bookmark that you are about to save, and you can also add some note to go with this bookmark, and the note will go just below the bookmark in the document where the bookmark is saved. So it's pretty limited, and when you look at it into that, we're not far from having a full web clipper where instead of saving only the bookmark, it would be to save the complete web page itself, minus the non-textual information, or like ads or things like that that could be stripped away. And I suspect that there's already libraries that the Craft team could use in their development process to kickstart the development of the WebClipper, where those libraries will already strip out all the non-essential content from a web page. So I have created a design where I think it would be cool to use. In the document here, I state a lot of I state a lot of behaviors that the WebClipper should follow, and also what the content of the WebClipper window would look like. So I'll switch to this app here, which is Freeform. So we have 4 designs here that I can look at. The first design I came up is pretty much what we are having now in the in Craft. The first part is the actual preview of the bookmark, or the the page that you are about to create within Craft. The author of the article, if available, would be also included, and then the first thing would be to select the space where we want to save the article, and then we would then select the document. If we don't select the document, when we click Save here, it would mean that it would create the document to save the content. If we select the document here, then the content would be saved inside the document as a page. And then the next section here is the tags. So that's why in the roadmap for 2025, the tags release came before the WebClipper release. And one way to implement that is to have a list of tags button that you can scroll horizontally, and then as you tap those tags, there's a check mark that will go on the left of the tag name. But there's one issue with this design, is that if you have like many dozen tags, then it could be tedious to scroll horizontally to select the tag. So it might not be the best design. The other possible option would be to replace that with a select tags button, and by clicking that, it would a list of tags would be presented and sorted from A to Z, and then people could just select the tags in the list, and there would be a check mark on the left for each tag that has been selected. So that's the other possibility. If I go there, to make the window more compact, we could have those 2 buttons like select space and select doc smaller. So that's a different variant of the design. And the last one is to have a text field where instead of having to click on the button and have a window to show up. We could use a text field where the autocomplete would help the user to type the tag, and then by having the autocomplete, it would make it easier to select which tags we want, and all those tags would be separated by a comma. And then, of course, there's this note field where we could type some text that will go at the end of the saved article. There is a button here in the middle where we could just ask to save the document and then switch to Craft and open the created document to read it right away, instead of just saving that into Craft. And the last button here is, and it is available on all the design, is to just save the bookmark like we used to be able before. So we're not losing that functionality by introducing the WebClipper. So that's one of that's the a few design ideas that I put together, and I have documented it in the Craft public website, which you can visit and maybe post your own comment about that. And I hope that people at Craft look at this and find some inspiration to implement the highly requested WebClipper. Now, for the last portion of this video, let's talk about the reimagined Craft Home View. So, as a reminder, the Craft Home View is this view right here, where if I click on the to show up the sidebar, this is the Home View here. I'll just make it disappear for now, and this is the current Home View. It's nice, but it's pretty limited in functionality, and I think there's room for improvement, and this is what this section is all about. So to look at this, I'm just going to go in the this document here. So in this document, also the link is available in the video description. It's a work in progress. I'm not finished yet with that, but I would say that it's very, very detailed right now. So I have a description of what is the concept of a home view in many apps. Many apps already use this concept, and this is what kind of a reminder. And then I do have a talk about this, the sidebar itself, because I don't think you can work on the home view without somewhat rethinking the left sidebar, and this is what this section is all about. And I have a mistake here, and I'm going to talk about this right now, the left sidebar. The first thing to note is that the home view is not something to replace the left sidebar. It's a complement to it, but it serves as a different purpose. First, the sidebar, there's kind of the concept of sections that we already have in Craft. If I go here, there's this section here. It's not obvious when you look at this, but the section here doesn't do the same thing as the section right there and the folder section right there. And so the redesign of the home view also implies some tweaking to some definitions of the what goes into the sidebar itself. So the top portion of the sidebar has a global scope in nature, which means that we do have the home node here, but I suggest to introduce the recents node, where clicking on that will dynamically create a list of all the recently visited documents inside Craft. And those documents can come from any spaces that you have inside the team. And then the last node would be shared with me. So all the documents to which I have access to from other teams would go there in this section. The space-bound scope section is for looking at documents that are bound to the currently selected space. So I have a node here, which is called the all docs, which we already have, by the way. And then the unsorted node is a dynamically 1-2, because as you create a new document, if you don't pay attention, it will be unsorted because it's not sitting in any folder. And so as soon as you put that document inside a specific folder, then it is being removed automatically by Craft from the unsorted folder. So in that sense, this is a dynamic folder. We have the tasks, the calendar, the templates, and the publish content nodes that we already have. And the user-defined section for folders is where you will find the manually created folders inside this space. So those are the tweaks that I'm kind of referring to in this document. I would suggest you to read the document because there's a lot of concepts and details about what is behind those suggestions. So if I go to the next section, this is the high-level concept and constructs that are behind this reimagined home view. So it has to be user-defined. That's the very basic thing. The other thing is for static content only. So people should be able to explicitly decide what goes into this section, and unless they decide to remove those things or to change something inside the home view, in a sense, it is a static content view. Also, there's the notion of having dynamically content areas within the home view, but those are explicitly marked as such. And also, there should be support for ornaments, which means that we could decide to put a header image, decide the color of the background, and things like that. The same kind of features that we already have for a document. But the home view is not a document. It is a very special construct within Craft. And so, but it should support some of the features that we have access to when creating documents. And the reason for that is to have a very highly customizable and very personalized environment, which would be very specific to each user. And so the last thing here is about intentionality, which means that everything that goes into the home view has been decided by the user, not in any other way. And then I have a description of all the behaviors and the features available to this to the home view, and some justification, some constraint, and a few sketches. So I'm going to switch to freeform again. And I'm going to go into this. So on the left, the side view is still there. The sidebar is still there. And at the top, this is the quick action bar. And this is there by default, and the user can decide to put that bar at the bottom. And the reason for that, if you're using the iPad with the keyboard, it would be maybe easier to navigate to the quick action bar just by using the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard. But this is something that the user can decide to configure. There's the new document and the new folder button here. And this is the comment field where someone can enter a search query or invoke the actions menu to invoke like the assistant or create something from there. And then there's a few buttons here. This one provides a way to show some portion of this this view, and also here this is an information place where by clicking on this icon we could have access to some statistics regarding the current space or how much content you are consuming in your craft environment. By default, the home view is empty except that you have the bar at the top, and the rest of the content goes there as you add something to it. So for example, if you are right-clicking on a folder and you decide to pin that to home, then it would add the area here with the first folder inside this area. The same goes for documents. So if you right-click on a document, you decide to pin that document to the home view, then the pinned documents area would show up in this in the home view. If you decide to remove this document and there is no more document that are pinned to this view, then the area itself would disappear. And also there's an area for the calendar, so it's a way to quickly navigate to the calendar and the list of tasks that are to be done. That's a dynamic area where as soon as you create a new task, it would be shown here in this dynamic area. And then down at the bottom, the published section that we have in the sidebar would move to the home view if the user decide to pin that area into the home view. If the user decide to add a header image to this to customize the home view, then it would go at the top here and everything would kind of be pushed down the view, which means that the content of the home view is scrollable. So it's like a document. You can scroll up, down to see more content. So it really depends on how many things you want to put into this area. And as you can see here, I did have a reuse the same concept that we have in Craft currently now, is to be able to display the folders in different views, like in a list or a bunch of icons. The same for documents. We could have a display, something that looks like when I go in the home view right now. So if you want to have this type of display, then this is something that we could do if the user decide to. As you can see, the quick action would replace those things would be moved around a little bit, and the shared with me here would disappear and go in the sidebar, which is more for navigational purposes and organization of content. So that's pretty much what the redesigned home view is all about. Again, I encourage you to look at these documents and read that, and just you can go there many times because this document is a work in progress. It's being updated nearly every day. This is what happens, by the way, when someone pin a folder to the home view. The area is added and the folder pops up. If the user add another folder as a pin folder, then it would be added at the right of this first folder. And so this is what I had to say with the redesigned home view. I'm very eager to read your comments, your thoughts, and I would encourage you to go on Reddit, because I started a thread there, and also on Slack, where you can post your feedbacks and comments and help the discussion keep going, the discussion, because I think we have a chance to influence what's coming next for Craft in 2025. That was a pretty long video. I hope that you like it. I hope that you found a few interesting ideas. And I wish that you keep the conversation going in the next few weeks. Thanks for being there during all 2024. and see you guys for the next video in 2025. Happy New Year. Bye.